This here is the internals of a Compaq Portable 386 laptop computer from 1987. There's the 386, here's the weird custom power supply, here's the weird custom 512K memory modules that aren't like normal SIMs. But what I want to fix today is the screen, which is supposed to look like this, where each individual pixel is a tiny neon light, kind of like this indicator right here. And from my pile of approximately 3 of these, I've managed to construct one working one. And I have another motherboard and 2 screens that don't quite work. But in the case of this screen, it might actually be fixable. Camera shutter problems aside, what we're seeing on this is not the usual failure of these. Usually you'll get either a column stuck on or off, or maybe a row or 2 stuck on or off. But on here, it actually looks like we have a driver issue where every other column is missing here until we get to here, and then it's fine. And the reason why it's every other column, you'll notice all these contacts go all the way around the board, and what they've done is they've interleaved them, so the top is like all the odd columns and the bottom is all the even columns, and the same for the rows on the left and right side. The screen is 640 pixels wide, and if I flip it over, we can better see the construction, and it's a whole bunch of these driver chips, and there's actually some under these two here to drive the rows. But as far as the column goes, 640 pixels wide, divided into top and bottom, so that's 320 pixels. And then there's 10 of these in a row, so each one drives 32 pixels. And these are basically shift registers. In fact, we can find the data sheet for them. Sure enough, DC plasma display drivers. These are the PNP version. The rows would be the NPN. Drives 32 lines. And right down here is where the serial data goes in and out. And that's probably what we got a problem with right here. Actually, if I remove this, we can see that now our bad columns go all the way across. So that must be the top that has the bad driver chip. And if I plug it back in, look at that, with it plugged back in, we happen to get the bad unit having all of the columns stuck on. So it's really easy to see now, but if we look more closely, it's good up until the halfway point, which is there, and probably one driver chip after that is where it starts to be bad. So we'll flip it over again. Again, there's 10 chips here, and the data seems to go this way because the connector is on this side. So 5 here. This one is good. Number 6, the columns for this are good, but we could actually have a problem getting the data out of this chip going into this one. So this one could be bad, or this one could have trouble getting the data in. So what I'm going to try to do is swap both of these chips with some from this other screen here. This one has problems with lines in it, which are the sort of problems you usually can't fix. That's maybe a connection thing, maybe under these resistors. I assume that's what that is. Or it could be a bad driver, so we might end up switching it with a bad driver, but hopefully there's enough of them on here I can give it a couple of good chances of getting a good chip in here again. One last thing of note is that these are far from the only types of plasma screens out there. I mean, the one in that third machine is actually a different model than these two. I just happened to get 2 of the same identical screen, which is that part number. I've got the bad screen taped up here, and I'm going to try to pull off these 2 chips, because those are the same ones I'm going to have to replace, so I'll get practice removing them. Luckily, they're right in the middle. I'm not even going to have to unfold any of this. Hopefully. I got some wet paper towel down here to stop things under it from melting, and we'll just go for it. Alright, we got the tweezers, we got the hot air gun. This is going to be leaded solder, so hopefully I won't have to get it too hot. Let's reposition that a little better, and let's see. Seems to pretty much be good. Maybe a little bit of the conformal coatings left behind. But yeah, it seems like the traces are not broken. Maybe a little scratch here and there. But all right. And now on the good board. Or the better board, I should say. And looks like the only collateral damage here is a little bit of breaking of the glue around this package here. But I'm actually done with the hot air now. I'm going to clean it up with a regular iron and then solder it with a regular iron. And here's going to be the replacement chip. Actually, I think it goes the other way. That's the same way. There we go. Something like that. And not a lot of solder, just what's already on the tip, and the flux should take care of the rest. Try to line it up a little better. Alright, well the soldering was too difficult to do on camera, but the second chip I installed went pretty well. The first one clearly has an alignment issue. Hopefully that's okay. Maybe a lifted trace right there. But we can now turn it on and see what we got. So right away we have a vertical column stuck on. So that could be a bad driver on that first chip or from just lousy soldering. But look, all the other columns are now working how they're supposed to. So I think I'll give that first chip another try, probably with another harvested chip from the other screen. And guess what? We got exactly what we don't want. A lifted trace here that pulled the pad up. So I'm going to have to connect to this wire somewhere else. Or if we're exceptionally lucky, something like this might be just enough. This is just a piece of shelled wire wrapping wire. Alright, well now they're all soldered except for that one wire. And you'll notice I've lifted the pin up here. So I'll just straighten it out. And then gently. Seems to be a bit loose. Let's put some solder on there. Maybe not that much. A little more flux, why not? And okay, that is surely attached to the pin now, I think. Maybe it's not, I can't tell. Alright, now it is. Well, I cleaned off the flux and then hit it with some hot air to drive off any moisture and hooked it back up, so now we're ready for another test. Hit the power, and right away, that line that was stuck on is gone. And we still have all of the columns working on the left over here. So from the looks of it, I'd say that's a successful fix, but I'll leave this screen running for an hour, running, I don't know, something, if I can get it to boot. And we'll come back and see if any lines develop here. Well, here we go. Here's a basic program. I've given it some gibberish to print on screen. So let's let that run for a while. So it's been going since about 10:30. It's 5 to midnight right now. And this does have a thing where I'm pretty sure if you don't touch any keys for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that, the screen will go black. So I had to come back in here every now and then. And only a couple times was it off, but I'm pretty sure it has been running for quite a while. And what I don't notice, there are no stuck lines anywhere on the screen. I mean, anything that you see is just from the camera. And what I'm also noticing, this screen, when it was running, it would get really hot, as in too hot to touch hot. And this one is, well, it's warm. It's definitely not hot. In fact, let's go to the thermal camera. Screen seems to be an even temperature, nothing excessively hot. The only thing that's warm is, yeah, all the dies on the main board. 386 is probably the hottest, although it's definitely not burning hot. Let's check the back of this. And sure enough, all the drivers seem to be nice and cool. Looks like the only hot spot here is this little IC right here, which is definitely not hot enough to not hold your finger on. And some hot resistors, but that'll be all right. So yeah, I think I would call that a successful fix. Well, the power supply is on, but it has a fan. I'm not worried about that. Well, there you go. I can't say I've seen too many other repairs of gas plasma displays like this. Most people, you know, once it's broken, it's broken. But apparently, if the circumstances are right, totally something that can be repaired. I mean, if your ribbons are delaminating or something, maybe there's not a lot you can do. But if it's just swapping drivers, provided you have a spare you can harvest stuff from, definitely worth a shot. As for this one, I'm going to harvest the rest of these. Some of them will be bad, but I'll set them aside. Maybe another one of these drivers will break at some point. I don't know. Or if you yourself are in dire need of either of these two part numbers, yeah, I'll have a few on hand. Leave me a comment. I'd much rather see these go to use than just sit in a drawer for the rest of their lives. So it looks like I will be able to restore a second one of these after all. And of course, that's going to come with the usual restoration stuff you have to do, cleaning. This keyboard is foam and foil, by the way. I haven't checked inside of this one, but oddly enough, the other one is still perfectly good, which I was not expecting. So maybe this is different than the other foam and foil keyboards I've worked on. And the keyboard cable on all of these is, any of the Compaq Portable you see, it's crumbly. But yeah, that's just a new one. Those types of things are best left as exercises to the viewer. That's all I have. See ya.